1, 2. All right, what's up, everybody? How y'all doing? Doing good? Hey, we're so excited. Man, I'm like, got the Holy Spirit shakes right now after that worship. It's so good. We're so excited to be here tonight. If it's your first time, welcome to the Spark fam. We're so glad. Hey, we got a few special guests tonight. They're not usually here, and so I just want to introduce them from left to right. We got Tim Horton, our kids pastor here at Living Church. He's awesome. He's so good. Beth Horton here, his wife. She's awesome. We got April Blunt right here. And last but definitely not least, Kevin Blunt. So we're so excited to have them all here. We're going to play a little game to start off, just to break the ice, just for you to get to know them a little better and see if they know each other as well as we might think they do. So here we go. First question, how this game works, if you were not here last week, how this game works is you will answer the question for the other person. So for example, this is not a question, but it's, what is your spouse's favorite color? And so, for example, you would answer for Beth or for April, and so you would have to figure out what is April or Beth's favorite color. Make sense? She doesn't have one? Perfect. Then you would have gotten it right, maybe. All right, so first question is this. Where did you first meet? So this one's of both people. Let's see if you both remember. No cheating. Doesn't work? Wow. We got to get better markers. There you go. You can share. Sharing is caring. All right. Don't look yet. All right, you ready? All right, 3, 2, 1, show the crowd. Sunday school at youth group? Okay. What? Tyler. Okay, well, you got it right, so good job. Okay. First question, that's an easy one. All right? So we can erase that one, and here we're going to go to the next one, all right? Okay, so this is for the ladies, all right? Ladies, it's time for your test. Who is your husband's favorite actor? Ooh. That's for the ladies. All right, who is your husband's favorite actor? Mine is definitely Leonardo DiCaprio. That's mine. Think. Will Ferrell, I'm changing mine. It's an even better one. All right. What's you're also answering for yourself, Tim.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, man.
Oh my God. You're making it impossible for actors. All right, well, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds.
Yeah, I can just pull one out of my
Do it.
head.
Pull one out of your head.
My favorite one is let's go with Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. All right.
Nah.
What did you put down, Beth? Tom Hanks. Okay. Is he at least one of them?
No, that's her favorite actor. She just put her favorite
So
actor.
let's see if you two got it right.
I'd have to say, may he rest in peace. My favorite actor was Chris Farley.
Wow. Literally goals. Goals. Okay. Well, they're one up on you. All right. Last question.
We're going to go to marriage counseling after
All right, check this out. All right, this is for the men. If your wife was stranded on a deserted island, what is the one thing she would bring?
I mean, are we excluding any things like Jude? Can I?
No, but maybe that's what you're going to put down. It's literally anything. If you could bring one thing, you could only bring one thing, what would they bring?
Know.
We're going to see if they're super Christians and they say the Bible. No, I'm just kidding. It's okay. No judgment here. Judgment-free zone. All right. You got it? You ready? We ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Show it. Oh, you're not ready? Oh, hold on.
Hulu.
Yeah, take your time. Yeah, but they're supposed to know. She's
That
writing it
was
down
my
real
answer,
quick.
though, so you know.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Show him. Toilet paper, knife. Okay. Jude and food.
That's two things.
Jude is food. What? What did you put? You didn't hear
Too
that, Jude.
far.
Jude, you didn't hear that. We're not that church, okay? Calm down, calm down. Okay, cool. Let's quickly transition out of that moment.
It's a one thing. It didn't say.
All right,
this
here we
was a
go.
No Wi-Fi island.
So for our second part of this night, you can put those down. You're good. We won't be needing that anymore. This is our sage wisdom time. We want your advice. We want your question. Before we go into the question and answer part, the first question is this: what is the greatest relationship advice someone has ever given you? And I'll let you two answer this first one. What is the greatest relationship advice someone has ever given you?
Don't let part-time people be the cause of full-time stress in your life.
If you don't have your notes out, then do you really love Jesus? That was good. Wow. Okay.
It's a little bit more practical. So make sure that each half of the family, that you split it evenly. Like for Christmas, make sure you spend the right amount of money on each and don't kind of put one person's family above the other.
Oof. That's good. Okay. Okay. In the future, y'all, you're going to need that. Okay. Let's go to part 3 here. Here we go. First question on friendships. This is for the blunts. How would you handle a peer pressure situation between friends? How
So
would
just
you
to
handle?
be specific, you're talking about, if your friends are pressuring you into doing something that
Yes.
you're really not comfortable with. This is good. This is totally me. My friends pressure me to crosswalk, jaywalk, right? All the time. They're so right. Pastor Trustin, yeah. Whitney, Pastor Whitney. They do, right? No, but seriously, I think it's really important for you guys to understand, what is it, what is your line? What is your boundary? What is it that you truly feel in your heart and in your mind is the point of uncomfortability? Because if you cross that uncomfortability line for your friends one time, it is so easy to repeat it. And you've got to be honest. I think that people value honesty. When I was in high school, I didn't even realize I had friends who did drugs or who drank or smoked or whatever else was happening. I had no idea because they just knew. Like years later, I would ask, well, why wasn't I ever included in any of that? April, we knew what the answer would be. If you draw that line 1 or 2 times, after a while, they know. And you don't have to face those situations.
Yeah, that's good.
With peer pressure, mine kind of goes with what April said. You've got to know yourself. You've got to know who you are. You've got to know what you can handle and what you can't handle. And so if you're going to put yourself in a position or a situation where you're not going to be able to say no, you're already losing the battle. And so you've got to be honest with yourself. Not only do you have to be honest with your friends, but you've got to be honest with yourself. If you know that by being in a certain place or being with certain people, you're going to make stupid decisions, you got to know that. And you've got to be able to tell yourself, I can't handle it. And you've got to be able to tell yourself no, as well as your friends.
That's so good. I thought about this the other day. I was actually watching a podcast, and they were talking about how his lines that he set for his life, he's a pastor, he set so many lines for himself, boundaries, and to some people it seems ridiculous because they're so strong boundaries. But let me ask you a question. If you go to a party and you say, well, I'm just going to go to the party, I'm not going to drink, you're not setting a healthy enough boundary. Why? Because you're literally next to the things that you're trying to be away from. What you have to do is you have to set a boundary and say, I'm not even going to go to the party because I know at the party there's going to be drinking, there's going to be things that I don't need to be a part of. And so you have to understand that those boundaries that you need to be set a little bit further back than might even make sense to other people. And that's just the lifestyle you have to live. Next question. Good. Next question. What makes someone a true friend? This is for the Hortons. What makes someone a true friend? That's the sound that's going to happen in your brain
So
after what
when
he
we
says.
got married, we had our best, groomsmen and our maids of honor, whatever, bridesmaids, that's the word.
Close enough.
Yeah, Casey, Parker, y'all take notes. I can't, with the exception of like our family members, I don't even talk to those dudes anymore. And she doesn't talk to any of her, and those are the people that stood with us on like what you'd call the most special day of your life. And I think that a true friend is someone, see, because a lot of our friends we've carried them emotionally. And a true friend is someone who will carry you back, because there's times when you just can't carry anymore. But there are some people who are just all about like, carry me, and they're tired and they just dump emotionally on you all the time. A true friend is willing to say, you know what, it's time for me to like backpack up and carry you for a while.
That's good. Beth, do you have anything on this?
Just someone who's loyal, someone who's with you on your own values, someone who won't pressure you like we talked about earlier, and just someone who will stick with you through the good and bad, and just someone who will get you closer to God too. Get someone who has the same goals as you too, because it's just important, and to be just a follower of Christ.
That's good. Thank you. I learned this coming out of college, or coming out of high school, and then even college as well. Someone told me in my senior year of high school, they said, you lose 98% of the, and this is like a fake number, but it's a really true-ish number. You lose 98% of the friends that you make in high school. And I was like, no way. Like, I'm super close to my friends. There's no way. Guess what happened? I don't talk to any of those people from high school. And it's because of this. You're going to have friends in your life that are friends of proximity. Friends that you're just close to because you're close to them. But then you're going to leave that atmosphere, that location, and then guess what's going to happen? They're not going to care enough to actually keep up with you. And so that's a note for you guys as you're going from high school, if you're a senior, or if you're from middle school going into high school. It's kind of that same thing, changing places, to know that your true friends are the friends that are willing to step out of their comfort zone and their proximity to come to you. So I got one really good example right here, Jake Taylor. I brag on this guy way too much, honestly. Like, it's not healthy. But seriously, this guy, where do you live? That's basically in New Mexico. You're welcome. But seriously, he lives very far away. But not just him coming to us because he's a true friend and a true part of the Spark fam, but also us caring enough to say, hey, Jake, we want to be hanging out with you. You know what I mean? And so get friends like that. Get friends that are willing to go out of their way to say, oh, you're an hour away? Well, that's okay. We're going to make it happen.
I'll come visit you in New Mexico.
There you go. You got another friend. Okay, next question. How can I keep healthy boundaries between my friends and I? And so here it's talked about as in being tempted to party, make bad choices, etc. But you know what? I want to go on a different spin of it. How do I keep healthy boundaries between my friends and I of the opposite sex? Because too often times I feel like middle school, high school, and then even college relationships, if you're of the opposite sex, like, there's a danger in that. Because guess what? You're probably both not ugly. And so, there you go. Blunts.
I was gonna just throw me a curveball here. All right, with this right here, when you're
Do it.
alone,
Do it.
with someone of the opposite sex, it makes things a whole lot easier to do something wrong. So one of the boundaries that you need to set is not ever putting yourself in that situation. Not ever looking around and saying, oh, it's just the two of us in here, and we're on a couch. This is crazy. You know what I mean? Find ways. You've got to be very purposeful about who you're with and who else is with you. It should never just be the two of y'all. One of the rules in my household growing up was that if we had anybody over, is that me? Hot mic? All right. Was that we could never close our bedroom door. And so if we had anybody over, my brother broke that rule, and so my dad took his hinges off his door, and he didn't have a door for a month. You know what I mean? And so you've got to be smart about the situations that you put yourself in, and don't ever do the small group thing, all right? Don't ever say, oh, hey, just come over to my house. We'll watch a movie. Oh, it's just going to be the two of us. It's okay. Our parents are home. When you
Netflix
put
and
yourself in that situation, it just makes things very easy to go down a very slippery slope, you know. So.
Yeah.
I think another thing that you guys need to think about is, this is a heart issue, right? If you feel like you have to set up boundaries where you can't be alone with each other, there's something else going on. We need to be real with one another. And when you get into high school, when you get into college, you have more opportunities to be by yourself. Your parents aren't watching over your every move. And so you have to put things, you have to prioritize different emotions, different feelings, different urges, temptations. You have to figure out for yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I want to be alone with this person? And why am I allowing myself to be put in a position where maybe they're going to take advantage of the situation, or I'm going to take advantage of the situation? That is something that is so much deeper than just being in a dark room with each other. That's not to be taken lightly. I don't want you to think that I shouldn't have a friend that's a guy if I'm a girl. I shouldn't have a friend that's a girl if I'm a guy. I shouldn't ever ride in a car, alone with them, things like that. That doesn't fix the problem. The problem is internally. Where is it that you feel empty, that you feel like you need to have this person's validation physically or, whatever it is, through closeness? And I'm talking about it from experience, from things that, I just thought, why in the world did I let somebody, someone of the opposite sex make me feel like that's what was going to make them like me, or that was what's going to make them validate, who I am as a person, that I'm pretty or that I'm handsome or I'm smart or, any of these things. You have to understand it is a heart issue.
Yeah.
The Lord has to be your number one. And if he is your number one, then you're not going to have to worry about saying, creating all these lines and these gates and these doors. But I want you to also understand, it goes back to what we talked about from the very first question. You have to be honest. And you have to say, this is uncomfortable, and I know it's weird, and you probably don't even like me like that, and I don't like you like that, but I just want to make sure it's out in the open. Like, this is not a relationship situation, right? We know that. You have to be honest. And I know it's uncomfortable. I know it feels weird when you're 13, 15, 20 to say these things. But it is so important for you. It doesn't matter. If that person calls you an idiot, or if they say that, you must think very highly of yourself, that's one moment in time versus the opposite, the eternal.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
The eternal, guys. This is just one moment. And we can hurt ourselves so badly when we don't set up those boundaries, when we don't understand our heart.
So good. Tim, do you got something?
She said so many good things.
Yeah, right.
I think practically, I love that. Don't leave the door closed. I'm about to tell her something I haven't even told her. We were going to hang out one time when we were like doing that. Are you a thing? Are you not a thing? And we weren't. It wasn't a time for us to be dating. And we were going to go with some friends to the Dublin Dr. Pepper Museum. And like it's one of those situations where suddenly everyone else bails, and it's going to be you and her.
Oof,
And so I was struggling with it, but I lied, and I said my car broke, so that I couldn't drive, and I bailed her. It was pretty bad. She had said no to her family going on a family trip so she could go hang out with me, and so she stayed home alone all day with nothing to do, because that was her plan.
Liar.
Well, at least you were the one. So
But
that's good.
it stinks, man. But like you just got to make that hard decision. I mean, you can talk yourself into making out to the Patriot. So, so you just got to have those things in your life,
They don't understand that reference, maybe.
Yeah, stay vertical, Don't
Vertical.
be horizontal.
There you go. That one's free.
Leave the door open.
All right, next one.
Don't put yourself in that situation.
Let's go into some parental relationship questions. Let's go right into a really good one I like here. It says, why should I obey my parents? And how do I obey them if they are in conflict with each other, quote unquote, fighting or divorced? Hortons, I'll let you take this one.
Why should you obey your parents? Because the Bible tells you should obey your parents.
It's true.
Because that is how you honor God, is by honoring the authority that he has placed in your life.
Yeah.
And I have to tell my 3-year-old who's sitting right there this. He doesn't understand. He thinks he can make the rules. He's a 3-nager, y'all. Like, he's where you guys are. And he doesn't think he has to listen to me. But I have to tell him, look, God gave you to us. And one day, we're going to stand before God and have to answer to how you turned out. And God is going to ask us questions. Did we do right by him? Did we bring him to church? Did we present truth? Did we live in a way where he learned and saw the gospel through our lives? Did he see Jesus in us? But God is going to ask you, what did you do with that? And if you're always sneaking one over and pulling one over on your parents, that's not their fault. They're not going to have to answer for that one day. You are. God has put your parents in your life as guardrails to protect you from yourself.
That's so
Listen,
good.
man.
Proverbs says, the man who knows the good he ought to do and doesn't do it sins. Man, that's so true for parenting. Like, if you have a healthy parent in your life, if you have a good parent, a godly parents, and they're trying to teach you and train you in the ways that you should go, listen. Because they're just trying to save you from a world of hurt in the future, but then also in the eternity. I didn't even think about that. That's so good. Blunts, you got something?
Well, one of the things that I think about, I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I grew up in a moral home. And for a lot of people, they think that, outside looking in, they think that that's the same thing, and it's not. We weren't a saved family. And I grew up following rules, understanding that there was a lot of black and white in the world. You steal a piece of gum or you steal a car, a thief is a thief. That's kind of how I grew up. And because I had so much fear in me growing up, I followed the rules, I obeyed. But you know what I learned? I learned that, and this is in, I think, Ephesians, God honors those of us who obey our parents, even when our parents don't know any better, even when our parents are in a bad place. He honors us when we obey them, when we honor them. And I know that it puts us in positions where we shouldn't necessarily be in. And like Pastor Tim said, they're going to answer for those things. But I get to meet the Lord and say, I did the best that I could to obey them. And I think about how blessed I am now. The husband that I have now, the church family that I have now, this wasn't anything I even imagined having at your age. I thought, I didn't even think I'd live long enough to have a driver's license or graduate from college. So I want you to understand, it's so hard to obey people that you think are not doing it the right way. But God honors you when you do it. You humble yourself and you do it. Because humility is the greatest lesson you can learn right now.
Yeah, that's good. Next question. What would you say to a student who only has a mom or only has a dad and they are seeking guidance in something that you would normally get from the other parent?
All right. As a high school teacher, I deal with this one a lot. I teach in South Arlington. We have the most diverse school in the area, and I have a whole lot of single parent students. Just this week, I was talking to a kid, and he's been doing so well, and then all of a sudden he just kind of stopped caring. And so we're talking, and he won't say anything, and he won't say anything, and he won't say anything, and then the truancy officer has to come. They have to pull him out, and it's things are going really, really bad. I finally get him to start talking to me, and his dad's been out of the picture for a long, long time. His mom was in a car wreck and has been in a coma, and he spent the night at a park last night. And he just never felt, because he had never had that parental figure in his life. He was just like, well, I don't need it. But you need it. Everybody needs it. And you've got to find someone, whether it be a teacher, whether it be a church family, whether it be a friend who really has things together. You've got to find those people who can speak life into your life. All right? And sometimes it can be very, very easy to be like, oh, I got this. Oh, I don't need it. Oh, I'll get it somewhere else. But you have got to find those people that are going to speak life over you. That changes. Our words are so, so powerful. And you can't go around saying, I don't need it. God put those people and those things in our lives for a reason. And as an educator, my job, I don't do what I do because I just love to teach. One of the biggest reasons that I am called to be where I'm at. And so somewhere on your campus, you've got a lot of teachers who teach to teach. But you've got people on your campus who are called to be on your campus. There's a lot of you in here who are here because of a teacher. You've got to find those people. And when you find those people, you've got to let them speak into your life. And a lot of times you're going to get told, and you're going to hear things that are hard to hear and that you don't necessarily want to hear. But once you find those people that you know speak the truth and you know are speaking to you, you've got to listen to them.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, it's really hard to remember that you're not always the smartest person in the room. All right. I mean, I still feel that way sometimes. Like I'm everybody else is dumb. I'm so smart. And I deal with a lot of students who feel that way about their parents, about their teachers. But again, guys, you've got to find those people, and you've got to let them speak into your life, and you can't just block them out.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you. I think about in my own life. So if you don't know my story, my dad walked out of my mom and I's life whenever we were, when I was 1 year old. I always get confused how to say that. A 1 year old? Now that got it. Never mind. When I was a 1 year old, my dad walked out of my life. And so I kind of grew up without a father figure in those very important formative years, like stuff that I didn't consciously understand. Like I was developing without really knowing that I was developing without a father, you know what I mean, in those first 3 years of my life. But then after that, I began to look at my grandpa as my father figure. And so through that became a father figure in my life. But then when I moved so I was living in Ecuador, South America. Then I moved here to Oklahoma. I know you love Oklahoma. So I moved to Oklahoma. And then from there, my mom married my stepdad. And so he became a father figure in my life. But what's so good is that even though my stepdad at that time wasn't very close to God and wasn't really in a relationship with him, what was so cool is that God surrounded me with family that were my friends. And so one of my best friends, his whole family, he had 4 sisters, and then his parents were like God-honoring a couple, and they became my second home. And it was so cool because they always told me, hey, we're your second parents. And I'm just like, like, oh my gosh, stop. But my life has been plagued by father figures and even mother figures in my life. And what's so cool is that the church is exactly that, The church is full of father figures and mother figures, sisters and brothers that want to be part of your family. So if there's ever a place that you need to be going to, it's the church. Because you're going to find your community there.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, guys, let me say something real fast. And if I could, I would look each of you in the eyes across the table at Starbucks and tell you this. You are not your dad.
Yeah.
If your dad wasn't there, if he made a mistake, you ever seen Lord of the Rings? The guy, he's worried that it's in his bloodline that his family messed up with the ring, and he's going to do the same thing. Some of your family tree has grown so crooked that you don't think you have any way to grow. You take a shovel and you plant a new tree. You are not your dad. Young ladies, you are not your mom. And my son is not going to experience some of the same failures that I experienced from my father, because we're planting a new family tree. You don't have to fall into the same pits, the same downfalls. You don't have to live that story. It's not your story.
That's so good. That's so true. That's exactly what I dealt with for my first 16 to 18 years of my life, thinking that, the reason why my dad left is because he cheated on my mom with multiple women. So it was this thing that I was like always fearing in the back of my mind, well, my dad did it, so I'm probably going to be the same way. And so I had this fear in my life that I was always going to be that person. But then God reminded me, it's exactly what you said. You get to plant a new tree. And all things, it says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, you know. And so God wants to do that in your life. The last thing I want to say, as a 24-year-old, kind of going into your stages of life, right? You know, eventually, hopefully, getting married and, you know, having kids and all that stuff. I'm in the in-between stage, right? I'm not yet dating, engaged or married or have kids, but I'm not too far away from college and even high school, right? And so can I just give you guys something? My parents were not perfect in any way. My parents did a great job at teaching me as much as they possibly could. And there was this one moment I was in the car. This is recent. It was about 6 months ago now. I was in the car with my dad, and my mom was super sick. And so we were going to go grab breakfast for her. And so me and my dad are in the car together, and we're driving to Panera to get her some food. And as we're in the car, he just starts sharing with me all the different sacrifices that he's made. And it was this moment of like transparency where I just realized, oh, wow. Like, you're not a superhuman. But beyond just that, you're just doing the best you can. I don't know what your home life looks like, even if your dad's a total mess up, even if your mom's making mistakes, whatever it is. They're not superhumans. You know what I mean? Just because they had you doesn't mean they got some superpower. And they're figuring out as they do it, you know? And it was in that moment that I realized, Dad, you love me. Even when you did make your mistakes, you loved me. And so, have grace on your parents as much as you can. And ask God to give you that. And ask God to help you honor them, because God will bless that, you know, and just kind of how April was saying. So I just want to pray over you guys tonight before we close. Was this good for you guys? Is this good? Thank you guys. Seriously, you guys are so awesome. I just want to pray for us. We want to have healthy relationships in the people we date. We want to have healthy relationships in the friendships that we make. And we want to have healthy relationships in the parents that we have. So let's pray.